Northbound Expeditions is brought to you in part by Fairview Jeep, Fredericton's #1 Jeep dealer.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Northbound Expeditions. My name is Virgil, and today, given that it's winter time, we're going to do some more videos that are not just us driving around in Jeeps and camping and whatnot. So for this video, I alluded to this earlier when I did my Fury video, that I would go through my first aid kit. And today is the day. We'll go through the kit. We'll see what I pack in my bag. And about that, I want to say in particular that I'm an officer in the Canadian Armed Forces. My trade is armored, and I've been trained in regular first aid, St. John ambulance first aid, combat first aid, and TCCC, which is tactical combat casualty care, which I was trained for the operation in Afghanistan. So some of the things that I carry in my bag are for people that have the training and the knowledge how to use these things. The caveat to this is you only use what you know how safely to use, that you will not cause any more damage to a potential casualty. So keep that in mind. I'll show you what's in my bag particular, and it might help you to find out what you need for your bag, or maybe what sort of training you need to get to make yourself more useful in case of an emergency. The reason why I think that TCCC in particular, which is basically all traumatic injuries, is very relatable to what we do overlanding. It's because not only is vehicle accidents very violent in nature, and any collision or any accident or rollover, there's also potential for massive bleeds, head injuries, punctures into the body, stuff like that, from stuff that's in the Jeep or from trees or whatever it could be, right? There's a lot of potential for trauma, so that's why TCCC is a very effective skill to possess, as opposed to just having a boo-boo kit, which I have as well. I have both, and I'll go through that in a minute once I dive into the details. The other reason is also winching, for example. If winching goes wrong, it can lead to horrible injuries. So again, those could be very traumatic in nature: amputations, severe blunt force trauma, stuff like that, massive bleeds. So that's why having a good kit on you is extremely important. Hopefully you'll never need it, but when you do, you not only want to know you not only want to have the right kit, but you also want to know how to use it. So this video is not about teaching you how to use it. This video is only about showing you what I carry in my bag and what we're prepared for. This is a med kit that I think is well suited for overlanding, for vehicle travel in remote areas. Yeah. So let's get into this. Let's see what's in the bag. So this is a generic bag. It's I'm not even sure the brand. You can find these online for a lot of different retailers. A lot of different manufacturers make these, and they're also fairly inexpensive. I've had this one for, I don't know, going probably close to 10 years now, and it served me in a variety of functions. And I've been using it as a first aid kit for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. I always go through my first aid kit once a year. You always want to go through it every year and make sure that nothing critical is expired. You still have all your supplies if you used any, refill what you had. Also make sure you know what's in it, where it is, and things like little flashlights if they need batteries or stuff like that, okay? And also just to keep familiarize yourself with what you have and where it is. So this year I went through this with Chantal with Starlight, and so we optimized the flow of this. Most of you probably know, or if you don't know, ABC is one of the things you go through when you assess a casualty. Obviously you have to first make an assessment on the ground, make a determination of what needs to be done, who needs to be helped first, if you have triage to do, all that stuff I'm not going to get into. However, once you do have a casualty that you're looking after, you always check the airways first, because obviously if you can't breathe, you're going to be, it's one of the fastest ways to die. So airway, comes first, and this is easily something you can check at the level of consciousness at the same time. But talking to the casualty, simply if they can respond, they're breathing and there's no obstructions. Then you can look for the next biggest thing, which is bleeding. So any massive bleeds, unless it's very, very obvious that someone is bleeding a lot and they're screaming, so when they're screaming, you already know the airway is open. So you can skip the whole airway part and go straight to the bleeding part. Again, this is a first aid thing on how to, which I'm not going to get into too far, but like for the purpose of this video, the point is that my bag is laid out for A, B, C, so airway, bleeding, and circulation. So first things first, okay, is always a protection. So you need to protect yourself to avoid contracting any diseases, and vice versa. Also, you don't want to, if you might have something, you might not want to give it to a casualty that's bleeding. So the very first thing you do, and the way it's laid out in my bag, get two first aid identifiers on the bag right here. So obviously if I'm the casualty and I need the assistance, then you can tell, okay, this is my bag. And you can identify this is my first aid kit. So the first thing is protect yourself. So for that purpose, the very first pouch I have here, I get gloves. These are black gloves. I know in first aid, black is not necessarily the best color because you can't really see blood on it that well. But I happen to have a whole bunch of black ones. So for me, whoever's helping, if I rip one, replace. So you want to have definitely a good chunk of gloves. That's really all you need to protect yourself already. Ideally, you want to cover your eyes as well, and so wear your sunglasses if you have them. If you're wearing eyewear anyway, obviously keep your glasses on. And then I got 2 thermal blankets in here as well. Shock, which is something that accompanies almost every major injury. Shock can makes anybody feel cold, and shock needs to be treated. So easily accessible again here as well. So then once you got your gloves on, the next thing is airways, okay? In this case, I got my breathing mask, which is, again, more gloves in there. Just put this over someone's mouth, and then you can provide breathing without making contact with their mouth. Tape, it's not necessarily for breathing, but it can be for anything. Maybe you got a tape. If you get to the point where you insert something, if you're qualified to do it, if you insert a nose tube, for example, and if you need to tape it on, tape. Okay, tape is handy for anything, which is also why I get duct tape here. Again, it can be improvised for lots of things. Tape. Okay. And again, this is all T-C stuff. Same with the nasal tube. Again, you would only use this if you know how to use it. And again, I'm not teaching you how. I'm just showing you this is what I got. Just a pen, a marker. Has a handy little scale on it. Anyway, it's a medical pen. Flashlight. Good stuff like that. Okay. Little pen light. Again, when I went through my bag today, I noticed the batteries on this thing were dead, so now they're working again. Again, if you still have an obstruction in the airway for breathing in. And then an assortment of bandages. These are just regular compression bandages, compresses to absorb blood, padding if you need to build up something around an injury that has a protrusion. And then these halo bandages. These are for flailing chest wounds. So again, if you know how to use them, if you know what they are, that's what I carry. And I have a few of these triage cards in here. In case of a mass casualty event, you calling if you have a medevac on the way, maybe helicopters are coming in inbound, and if you know what you're doing and you qualify to do this, you can do triage and put valuable information on these things. Okay. now we're on the bleeding part. Okay, so if you can see someone is very obviously bleeding, after you've done your head to toe check over and you determine where the bleed is and you prioritize which one needs to be addressed first, this is your go-to bag. Okay, so once you establish the location, I got a hemorrhage control bandage, compressed gauze, combat gauze, tourniquet, a emergency trauma dressing. We call this one modular bandage. It's for treatment of moderate hemorrhage. So this is the one with the compression point in it, and then you wrap it around the compression and it should control the bleed. Another compressed gauze, and then 2 regular wraparound bandages to close up or hold in place whatever you've put on with any of these things. Except with a tourniquet, you don't block the tourniquet. While we're still on the bleeds, sometimes you just have to get access to the actual bleed in order to treat it. So very handy, and you definitely must have is your cutaway scissors. So these are medical scissors designed to obviously slide over skin and not injure the casualty, and they're serrated to cut through fabric. These I have attached to a C-Tom's retractable retractor, so you don't lose them. This is the same thing, in case you're wondering, this is the same thing, and I've been asked this before, what I have my microphone on when in my Jeep. So I'll just keep these on the outside. Easy and quick access. And tape can also help with controlling bleeding. The next thing that could be, if let's say you either already treated the other injuries, or this is the only injury. Maybe someone only has a sprained leg or a broken leg or something like this. Sometimes it's a broken leg with a fracture with bleeding. The bone could be protruding, or it could be an internal break, or maybe just a sprain. Whatever the case may be, you want to be able to splint, so to stabilize. So on the back, in this whole back pouch here, I've got splints. Before I get that, I also have a handheld radio in here, so you can either call for help, inform other vehicles, maybe send the rear vehicle to go get help. Anything, whatever, communication doesn't hurt. And then, like I said, I've got a few splints in here. Anything from a small finger splint to leg splints. You can mold them and shape them to whatever you need. And then a larger one as well, again, for the leg as well. So it even has fancy pictures on there to help you if you're not really sure on how to splint. It will just show you right on there. And like I said in the beginning, this is trauma kit, but now actually the main compartment on here is actually just a boo-boo kit. So this is a small first aid kit. It's assembled. I think this came in my boat, or maybe I just bought it for the boat when I used to have a boat. And then this one's from Canadian Tire. It's a first aid kit. Comes fully packaged. I'll go to contents in a second. A few minor things. After bite, it's nice to have. Sucks to be scratching yourself all the time if you get a bite from an insect. Tylenol. I see I wrote a new date on here. I crossed out the original expiry date, and because I refilled these with new pills, so just Tylenol. And so not first aid per se, but just a handful of glow sticks. I don't know. And in here, a bunch of hand warmers and feet warmers. Again, it can help make someone uncomfortable, that if they're freezing, if they're in shock, or whatever the case may be. So you get someone, let's say, that's awaiting evacuation, and if you combine this with a heat blanket, they'll be nice and warm. So for the first aid kits here, quite a generic, self-explanatory. You get your regular bandages, some more tape. I actually added more tape in here. It's got gloves, maybe? I think I removed the gloves. So I put a few of my own things in here actually. Obviously a whole bunch are just band-aids. This is probably the most likely thing you'll ever use on the trail. Camping, people cut themselves, chopping wood, cooking, whatever. Bandages, okay? Never can have too many bandages. And obviously with bandages, you're gonna have stuff to sterilize, disinfect things. So there's a whole assortment of either there's iodine, or simply just alcohol wipes, antiseptic isopropyl alcohol pad, stuff like that, okay? Pretty basic, straightforward things. A syringe, this could be useful to clean out a wound. It could just be a small cut, but like if you put water in this, they can obviously distill water would be ideal, but we don't carry that around. So just put some water in this and then just spray out, rinse out a wound. Or maybe you got something in your eye, you can use this to rinse out an eye as well. And obviously a triangular bandage to make a sling to stabilize an arm. Comes with safety pins. So again, if you don't know the techniques and all this stuff, obviously my recommendation is to get yourself qualified. Stay up to date on your first aid, stay up to date. You can do online courses. If it's nothing more than just watching YouTube videos from qualified professionals that teach you this stuff, I should just watch one just as a quick refresher to make sure I'm not out to lunch as I'm making this video. So there's definitely lots of things on there, and a lot of actually a channel I really enjoy. It's like a combat medic channel. They're also quite funny, so lots of good stuff on there. Anyway, I probably spent too much time on YouTube, but that's the boo-boo kit number 1, and then the boo-boo kit number 2. Yeah, and just some little scissors, tweezers, could be very handy, very useful. Having a splinter, obviously it's not an emergency, but it's really annoying. So having the tweezers on you, having a means to remove a splinter, definitely helpful. Well, scalpels, not exactly necessarily first aid, but again, for if you have a very embedded splinter, for example, make a little incision, you can get the splinter out and then tape it up, bandage it up after. Better than leaving it in there, getting it infected, spend the next 3 or 4 days on your trip with a infected splinter in your finger. I want to have a means to remove this splinter, so a scalpel can be, and these are obviously sterile, they're packed in. A scalpel can be useful to remove something little like that. So all my kits have been customized to things that I believe are most likely to happen on the trail or at camp, and then they're compartmentalized in a logical flow. So obviously with the way the sequence in which you should follow, which increases the chances of not missing something, and also increases the chances of a casualty surviving their accident. Alright, and then the last thing, of course, is comes back to communication, is to evacuate the casualty. Obviously, if you don't have cell phone service, if you do need to make arrangements to have either an ambulance or helicopter come meet you somewhere or come to your location, having having an SOS device such as the Garmin InReach, or it used to be called the DeLorme InReach. Mine is still a DeLorme. It was right after Garmin took it over. Any SOS GPS device or satellite communication device that can trigger an SOS signal would be extremely useful, and definitely recommended to have that on you as well. You can either carry it in your cockpit of your vehicle or in your first aid kit. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you did enjoy this content, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and I will see you on the trails next time.